What's up, everybody? Davey boy here to talk to you about the Golden Orca today. Not much has changed on this board over the years, mostly just a new environmentally sustainable top sheet and core. And we're updating this review to give you a big guy's perspective because I more properly fit the specs on this board. This is a board that's made for large riders, a size 10 boot or up, and it was a little large for Beastie's specs. For a short summary, this board is an absolute ripper. This thing is a hoss. It wants to haul ass. It wants to go pretty straight. It is not nearly as turny and across the groomer turny as the Orca 2 that I also demoed. It has its own personality. It's much more on the down the line, aggressive, wants to get air, wants to go straight personality than the Orca 2. It's one of the most aggressive C2 boards I've ever tried. It's like the T-Raz on steroids. The Orca 2 is still very aggressive, but this wants to charge even harder. This rides a good amount more centered and has a more big mountain approach compared to the Orca that's more set back and a little bit easier turning. And this board is stiff and poppy, and this tail felt like it had its own extra takeoff gear where I could just be like, giddy up pony, and it would boost me off of stuff a good amount more than other boards do that are this size. And besides the thirsty base that needs almost daily waxing, this is an all-around hard charger with great edge hold for somebody that wants a little bit more of a centered all-mountain ride. And this is an objective, honest review for you. There's no brand oversight, not from Mervin, not from Live Tech. This is brought to you as unbiased as possible, and we can do that thanks to our sponsor, Flower Board Shop. They've been around selling snowboards longer than I've been alive. They have a great delivery network, large inventory, and they deliver and are as easy to shop with online as any of the big competitors. So you support us by supporting them. Thank you for shopping our links to Flower Board Shop. So I've gotten to ride this board probably about 12 days, and I've gotten it in all different conditions. Luckily, even though it's been a rough winter, did get it on some decent powder. Got it on what we thought was gonna be a 10-inch pow day, but it rained while we were waiting in line to get on the lift. So we got it on some thick powder, some shallower powder with an underbite. We got it on some firm groomers and some slushier midday groomers as spring is starting to turn. In the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately, it's a little early for that. Rode it with my Union Force bindings and my Nitro Venture boas. For the sizing, I'm a size 12 boot, 250 pounds, and I'm 6'3.5". The 164 fit me perfectly. I love the bigger sizing on this board. I think going up in sizing and accessing the 64, if I would have reviewed whatever the next size down is, I don't think I would have gotten the true taste of what the personality of this board is. This is a board that I think if you can handle the hard charging nature of it, I would recommend sizing up because it rides more centered and it rides more centered in powder. So having the extra size just holds your speed, holds your float, charges hard. Only size down if you want to spin off jumps and have a little more control, maybe going to the trees. Stuff like that. The 164 is the perfect size for me. I don't think I can handle this board in a much bigger size, and I don't think I'd have fun on it in a smaller size now that I know how aggressive and poppy and hard charging the 64 is. For durability, I got no issues with this board. I got no concerns. This thing's gonna hold up. Top sheet, nice and glossy, just like most other on the market. You can't even see the insert marks on the bindings really. Normally it leaves a little binding rash from my Union Forces. It seems like the top sheet and the core are both improvements overall for the performance of the board, and they're more environmentally friendly. It's worth looking into it if you care about that sort of stuff. And if you do want environmentally friendly, Mervin Manufacturing is light years ahead of the rest. For the shape, this is tapered and set back. It is not as set back as the Orca 2, and it doesn't feel as tapered as it is. There's 9 millimeters of taper on this board, but it feels closer to like 4 millimeters of taper. And you ride this a lot more centered on board, much more like an all mountain board, a lot more than the very set back Orca and Orca 2. For the camber, this is Libtech's C2X camber. There's a rocker in between the feet and healthy boa camber between the front and back inserts. The camber is longer and more elliptical in the front foot, and it is shorter and more abrupt in the back foot. This C2X has a little bit of like an auto spinny feel when you're flat basing or one footing off a chair. Always keep it slightly on edge. And despite being C2, this is much harder to skid a turn than other C2 boards. So because of that, we're gonna classify this for committed intermediates on up to experts. It's a little harder to get on edge, and it doesn't want to turn as easily as other C2 boards. And this board almost has two different personalities. The harder the snow gets, the more you feel this hooky, auto spinny type of feel with the rocker between the feet. But as the snow gets softer and you get into more and more powder type conditions, it just tracks better, rides smoother, and you don't feel this rocker in between the feet really in terms of the hooky twitchiness at all. Talking flex on the Golden Orca. Oh yeah. I think it's stiff. Oh, look at that tail. That tail's got more give to it than the Orca 2. Oh, that's a stiff nose. That nose is, oh yeah. That nose is just as stiff as this tail. That's impressive. The middle has more give than the Orca 2 for sure. This is still stiff though. I'm giving this at least a 6.5. And yeah, look at that. You can see how it pops out of the tail. Not the easiest to butter. The rocker in the middle will help, but this board is kind of big and stiff, so it's harder to kind of leverage it up and hold it up while you do a prolonged butter. When it comes to ollie power, this board is a monster. This thing has a ton of pop, ton of spring out of the tail. That nice longer tail, you feel it when you're engaging airs, and you feel it spring you out of a jump really well. Also has a nice landing gear. This stiff big nose also would be amazing to jump off of if you're riding switch. This board wants to go fast and get air off of stuff. Very fun board to jump with. And the edge hold on this board is exceptional. The lip tacks just grip like a boss. It has an aggressive bump in the middle, but it definitely mellows out as you get to the tip and tail. And it grabs less in softer snow than the older magnet traction boards used to. But it still grips like a champ in hard to icy snow. For hard uneven snow that usually sends a lot of chatter into a board, this does really well. It stays damp, absorbs the chatter, which helps keep your edge quiet so you can hold an edge through a turn. Soft uneven snow, this is an absolute chunder buster. The stiffer flex, the camber profile evens out, and you can just charge through soft uneven snow with ease. This board doesn't have any of the hooky, twitchy feeling on harder snow in the softer snow, which just allows you to go faster and charge through chunder with even more confidence. Being a tapered directional board, this does ride switch pretty well. I found myself with the personality of it, how it's kind of straight liney and aggressive. I found myself wanting to flip around switch more than I do with other boards. And I was seeing side hits and stuff that my soul wanted to flip it around switch and get a nice smooth 180 off the side hits and stuff, which I normally just kind of straight air things, but this board has a personality and you feel it when you ride it. This board pops really well. This tail's got a whole bunch of giddy up to it. I don't have a lot of boards that launch my weight really well. This board launched my weight. I could feel the pop I was getting from the work my legs was doing, plus the extra boost off the tail, and it made me want to ride around and just jump off natural features all day. And for the pipe, this board has the edge hold, it has the grip, it has the drive to be a really good pipe board, but it's a little hard to get on edge, and it doesn't have the side cut that you would want for a pipe board to really be able to turn and get up the wall. But if you got bigger feet or you're just a hoss and you can manhandle this thing, you can rip this in the pipe. Might be a little much for most people to ride in the pipe. For the turn initiation, it is surprisingly slow. This board is hard to get on edge, but when you do get it on edge, it stays on edge and it wants to haul ass on edge. It doesn't want to turn across the groomer. It wants to go down the line diagonal, but that's the personality of this board, and that's why you would be buying this thing, because you want to go more straight line and you want to go faster and you want to get bigger air. It rides more centered. It feels a little bit more like an all mountain board when you're on it. And for speed, this thing has no problem going fast. If anything, you're going to need to be speed checking to keep your speed down for a lot of terrain. It just has to be a little bit on edge and you can point it. The base glide is good. It's not the upper echelon tier, but when you wax it properly and keep up with it, it definitely has good base glide. This knife cut centered base, it needs frequent waxing. It does not have very good wax retention. It dries up almost after one day of riding. So if you are gonna get this board or other higher end Libtech boards, just be aware that you are gonna need to frequently wax and keep up with the base in order to keep the structure down and maintain optimal glide. And you might wanna just get a phantom wax or something more of a permanent wax in order to not have to wax as frequent if you don't wanna have to do that. And it's not gonna have as good a glide as if you kept up with the waxing yourself. And for the category that most of you are probably watching for, powder float. This board held up well. I did not get it in deep bottomless powder. It hurts. Wish I could have for you folks. These Orcas deserve the steep and deep, but we got shallow and mellow. It's not as flat because the Bachelor isn't filled in like it normally is, so there is more pitch and rollingness than this time of year usually has. But this board floated really well in the powder that I did get it in. This size, even though it's a 164, this feels like you have a lot of board underfoot, and I have no issue at my 250 pounds centering my stance on this board and taking this thing out for a deep powder day, especially if I'm riding steeper terrain where I don't need to be really set back and nose up to get through flat sections. This thing is gonna be one of my go-to powder day boards. I love how it rides down the line. It wants to charge fast. It wants to go, picks up speed in powder, planes really well. It makes rolling flatter trees very fun and exciting. It is a big step behind the Orca 2 and the Orca, but it's not gonna be a slouch. This is for people that like riding centered in powder. They like getting big airs, doing spins, having a lot of tail for the landing gear. Love to ride switch. If you're not that type of person, then consider the Orca 2. For final thoughts, I'm just gonna repeat myself. This board rips. It is centered, aggressive, down the line, made for big airs, made for spins. It's got a chonky tail that pops, launches, lands really well. It's not as set back as the Orca 2 or the Orca, and that is why we love this thing. Between the Orca 2 and the Golden Orca, you have an exceptional 1-2 punch when it comes to riding styles and terrain varieties. And you know, you wake up really feeling like a big badass that day. Hop on the Golden if you want to go carve up groomers or have a little bit more cruisy, playful runs through the trees or something like that. You hop on the Orca 2. But overall, this is an exceptional quiver piece, and this is a big guy's favorite. I think this board is awesome, and sizing is variable across the board, but I recommend sticking with your regular riding size or sizing up with this board as long as it fits your boot size. The Orca, more of a size down. This, I think, ride it true to size. Only size down if your boots are close or don't match the width. Thanks for watching, y'all.